All the while, there are people suppressing fire with Garand rifles, BARs, and everything else around them until this could go into action. The gun is up. You can see with 3 people, you can move this around pretty quick. A lot quicker than a water-cooled machine gun, which also had a condenser, a hose, and a much larger tripod. Next up, what we're going to have, just following on with machine guns, was the submachine gun. The first of which was the 1928 version. You can see this looks just like the kind that gangsters carried, because that's exactly who did carry them. After World War I, this was designed in World War I by Mr. Thompson. He was a colonel at that time, later became a general. This was a trench broom designed to go into the trenches, be very lightweight. It isn't. Had a forestock, had a cuts compensator, which kept the barrel from rising up as you fired. It was a fully automatic and also a single shot. Had a detachable stock, so it could be used much like a pistol. Nobody in their right mind would do that. This has a 50-round drum magazine. The 50-round drum magazine was used extensively in the early part of the war. In the Philippines, which is what I'm supposed to be, and that's why we have this World War I type helmet, wasn't replaced till late 1942. They used these to suppress the Japanese when they got in close. They had masses of these there, and it was an effective weapon. The only problem was, it was very expensive to make. It's all machined, so it's a solid steel. They later changed the drum magazine to a stick magazine to make it less heavy, and also to keep it from rattling, which is a good idea in the jungle. Now, this is the evolution of that weapon. As you can see, it seems a lot smaller. It's lighter. It has a stick magazine. They moved the bolt from the top, you see it here, to the side. Oh yeah, and they cut it down so it wasn't as long. Didn't have that cuts compensator, so you had to rely on holding that weapon down in place when you fired. They tried short burst. It fired a 45 caliber round, same as the sidearm that most officers carried in the semi-automatic pistol. The rear sight lined up with a simple blade sight. You see in this one, they actually had to take the bolt and cut a notch into it to be able to see around it. There's another reason for moving the bolt to the other side. Unfortunately, with all these changes, they only cut off about $64. The original cost of each one of these was $284. The British loved this. They used it through the war. When they were given Sten guns, they threw them away, the commandos, and they kept the Tommy gun. There's a famous picture of Winston Churchill holding one. This became the standard weapon, though, for non-coms officers. Anybody who could carry it. It was very, very lethal, very effective at close range. They relied on the BAR and the Garand for longer ranges. Of course, as the war went on, had to sell more war bonds, needed more money. Also had to cut the cost of making a submachine gun. This they did with the Grace gun.
All right, this is an M3A2. The M31 basically had a cocking handle on it, and they were trying to cut costs. This was designed by the Ordnance Department, and it was built by the GM Autolite Division. It's supposed to have a short barrel. The stock would clasp, but due to BATF regulations, they have to have the long barrel, so it's not considered as a pistol. Has a detachable magazine. You notice I've got them taped together. If you're in the woods or the jungle and stuff, it's best to have a separate magazine real quick. You can load them real quick by just flipping it over. Now, as far as cost goes, everybody thinks this here is a grease gun. That's what they call it. They also call it a tanker because when it all slid together, you can get in and out of a tank. But the cost of that there was so much, they couldn't produce enough of them. It took approximately 24 hours to make 4 guns, 4 Thompsons. Either that model or the M1 model. This one here, they can run off 70 of them a day at a cost of around $26 for the M1, or the M3 rather, the M3A1. They reduced it by reducing the side handle, not machining the bolt, just drilling a hole in here for your finger to go in so you can cock it. And it was 20 bucks in 1943. They produced a number of these, are like 300,000, and 300,000 of these were made during the war, and it's been extensively used all over the world. It shoots the 45 ACP, the same as that. It has a big knockdown power. The range, the cycle rate of that one there is about 800. They slowed it down for the M1 to about 600. This one here is 450.
That's what you get when you cut costs. One weapon that is overlooked by many people is the military shotgun. Again, the military shotgun was developed in the First World War. The Germans didn't like that. They were scared to death, and they went to the Hague and Geneva to file protests against their use. This is coming from a country that used poison gas during the First World War. In World War II, it had developed and evolved. You can see that one, there was no bayonet lug. That's because that was basically a standard sporting rifle, kind that you used to hunt ducks. The second one, you see they added a bayonet lug to it. That made it military. Really didn't change the gun all that much, except they put an air radiator cooler on it, that little thing full of holes. Gentlemen, why don't you take over from here, because you have, you know the nuances.
Not a problem. Thank you. Like we heard, a lot of the weapons that were used in World War II were carryovers from World War I. The 97 Winchester is exactly that. It was designed off of the Winchester platform, which was actually designed by John Browning as a civilian bird hunting gun. And that's exactly the model type that we have here, except for one variance is the fact that this has what's called a riot barrel. So the barrel's shorter than it would be if it was a bird gun. But other than that, this weapon is completely a civilian weapon. This type of weapon was utilized by both the military and police departments during the pre-war years of World War I and also in World War II. The Marine here is armed with the riot barrel version, and we'll have him load one round and fire it for you. Yeah. Okay, you want me to move? All right. And it's a pump-action shotgun. It has a 5-round magazine tube at the bottom. He pumps the action, blows the cartridge, and he fires. Next one comes out. Now the Marine on the left, he's armed with the military version of the 97 Winchester, and the only difference between the two weapons, between civilian and military, is the heat shield, which is the perforated shield that keeps the Marine or soldier's hand from being burnt after he's fired many rounds out of the weapon in a short period of time, and also the bayonet lug. One of the requirements that the military had in World War I was that all weapons had to be able to fix a bayonet of some sort, and this particular one can actually fit the Eddystone Enfield bayonet, which was in mass use during World War I. And we'll have the Marine armed with the trench gun version of the 97 load one round into his 5-round magazine tube.
All right, clear.
So it was a very successful shotgun, and the military continued to use it all through World War I and into World War II. By World War II, it was actually a surplus weapon because it was being replaced by the Model 12 Winchester. And the main difference between the Model 12 and the 97 was the fact that the Model 12 was what's called a hammerless shotgun, meaning it had no hammer at the back of the weapon. That way you couldn't get your hand caught in it as you were pumping the shotgun.